Hey everyone, so welcome back. Today I am doing something that's way long overdue and I need to do some maintenance to my sawmill. I think some of you already know, and I've mentioned it before, I always have trouble getting this thing started, and I think it's just overdue for some maintenance. So that's what I'm going to work on today, and with any luck I might even be able to mill a log or two. The first thing I want to do is change the oil. I need to find where the oil drains, and I get a little pan over here to drain it into. Oh, every 50 hours. Change your oil after the first 5 hours. Well, yeah, that could have something to do why I might be having problems. Every 100 hours or annually, change the oil completely. I'm gonna go get some other wrenches here and see what I can fix. You can see where my socket right there is. I should warm the oil up just a little bit. Actually fire the engine up first. Started the motor and got it running for a few minutes just to get the oil warmed up. So I think it'll flow out a lot easier that way. Now I'm gonna lower the saw head. All the oil is all drained out. I'm going to put the drain plug back in. So I'm going to go grab some 5W20 and a funnel. It says it takes a little over a quart, so I'll dump the first quart in. Get some of this oil off here. We now have some fresh oil, so this thing should fire up and run pretty smooth. So you put it on, choke on. I'm going to put some of this sea foam in there. I hear a lot of people tell me this stuff is supposed to really help with when you're using ethanol gas. It's probably a little bit more than an ounce. Get that oil to mix all in through the engine there. I'm going to go ahead and drain that lube tank up there. So that little spout underneath it, I'm going to open the valve up on that, just let it pour out. So I am just letting it pour out, but it is just water, so it's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt the environment. I shouldn't have let just plain water sit in there. There you go, the motor's warmed up enough for now. Yeah, so that makes sense why this chain broke. I might go get some hot water and pour it into this tank to thaw some of that out, because it's just a big block of ice in there, unfortunately. Which makes sense why last time I tried to use this, it didn't flow very good. I'm gonna go get some hot water and hopefully thaw that out a bit. And while that's doing that, I can work on swapping out the blade, checking the bearings. Yeah, at that point, we'll be just about ready to rock here. I'm gonna go grab some hot water. I'll be right back. And I'm a little teapot. So I got some really hot water. It's not boiling, but it's pretty hot. So I'm gonna dump that in there. Hopefully that'll help thaw out the water that's all frozen in there. All right, that should help. And that water's coming out really cold. Should be melting that ice in there pretty good. Tank feels nice and warm. All right, so while that's doing that, I'm gonna at least get the old blade off here, because last time I used it, it was somewhat dull. I'm gonna get it off of here and put a fresh blade on. I had enough of them. I don't use them fast enough. So I'm gonna raise this up a bit. All right, put these manuals back so I don't lose them. Well, that hot water sure is working. For now, I'm just gonna put them over to the side. That's mostly pretty much all melted down. So before I actually do anything with the blade, now I'm gonna put some of this, a lot of people say this is good to use. It's got windshield washer fluid, and it says it's regulated for negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So this shouldn't freeze in most cases, because most of the time it's not negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit around here. All right, so I'm gonna put some of this. No, this is windshield washer fluid. And the good thing about using this is it's windshield washer fluid is made so it doesn't freeze. So I'm only gonna put like half a tank of it in there. There we go, it's starting to flow better now. Now I'm gonna raise the saw head back up to make the blade easier to change. So I've learned my lesson enough times that dealing with your bandsaw blades without gloves on is a bad idea. I've gotten some pretty good cuts from it. So first thing I'm going to do is get the blade off. Oh, the bearings are really smooth. And these are pretty smooth also, so that's good. So the guide bearings are smooth. You can see this was spinning nice and freely. All this stuff is spinning good. Of course, the mill's not that old, so it should work pretty well. So that's good. You know, the one thing I learned is, you know, change the oil. Do the maintenance that it's supposed to get. So put this on. I'm going to put it onto the drive side wheel first. So you get it inside the blade guide and make sure it's on the wheel and in the guide. And then on the other wheel. And then to make sure that the blade is kind of in the right position, you can just push on the back of the blade, and the back of the blade should line up pretty closely to the back of the wheel. And it should be just about the same on the other wheel. To make sure that the tracking is correct, we will want to tighten, put some tension on the blade and turn it and make sure the blade tracks properly. So the back of the blade should be right about the back of the wheel. So I'm going to tighten that up. And I know a lot of people just tighten their blades by hand, but I like to use a torque wrench to do it, just so I know I have the right amount of tension. First I'll hand tighten it until I have a good amount of tension on there. And I'll bring the torque wrench on, making sure it's set to 30 foot-pounds. The specs say 25, I like to have it a little tighter. It seems to pull the blade, a little more tension on the blade to keep the blade straight. I haven't had any issues with the blade cracking or breaking, although I haven't had the mill that long, so I guess we'll see over time. So you just tension it down with the torque wrench until it clicks. And now we're at 30 foot-pounds. I'm going to manually turn the bandsaw wheel. And when you're doing that, keep an eye on the blade and make sure it's not tracking itself off. So the tension's on it. I verified that the tracking is good. Okay, so you just spin the wheel, keep an eye on the blade. And actually, it is not tracking properly, which is strange. The blade's not tracking properly, which is strange because usually, even after I change a blade out, it usually still tracks okay. But anyway, so in order to adjust the tracking on this, there's this bolt here. You have to loosen this nut that's holding it in place, and then you just make minor adjustments to this bolt. It's about a quarter of a turn, and then you just basically spin the wheel each time to see which way it's changing the tracking. And in this case, it seems to be bringing the blade in the direction I don't want it to go. So I tightened it. Now I'm going to loosen it to go the other direction. And since I went a quarter of a turn, I'm going to go a half a turn the other way. So now it's essentially a quarter of a turn in that direction. Perfect. All right, so now it's tracking perfectly right at that setting. So I'm just going to tighten this nut down to keep it in position. Check it one more time to make sure it's tracking properly. And that should do it. Now that we've changed the tracking, we may need to adjust the bearings, the guide bearings here. For this guide, I need to loosen this locking nut first here, and then loosen the bolt that holds the guide in place. Now I can move it back and forth. So I'm going to bring it to the point where it's touching the blade, tighten it down. So now that I got the new blade on, I got the guide adjusted, and the guide should be adjusted so it's just like a paper thickness from the blade in the back. The way I do it is I just verify that the bearing spins freely and just putting a tiny bit of pressure on the front of the blade. You can feel that the blade's now touching it while you're spinning it. So now that I've adjusted that one, I need to adjust this side. So these are both adjusted good, and the rubber blade guides actually seem to be adjusted. They seem to be just perfect, so I'm not going to worry about them. But these rubber blade guides here, you can take these little screws, like cap screws here in the front. You just loosen them up and you can adjust the rubber guides inside. And it should be about the same, just barely, not touching the blade, but just about a paper thickness from it. So now we're going to close it up. So, lube tank is all set. Got a new blade on there. Well, not a new blade, resharpened blade. Guides are all set properly. We got gas treatment in the gas. I got the oil changed, and got the lube line all loosened up, so it seems to be flowing the way we need it to. And now I'm just gonna fire it back up, make sure it runs smoothly. Let's fire this bad boy up and see how she runs. All right, gas on, choke on. Put some power on the blade here and make sure it spins properly. Now I think I'm going to grab a log. With any luck, I can get at least one log milled today. Well, that's going to be it for this video. I will have some more maintenance on this mill coming up at some later time, and when I do, I will definitely share that with you. But for now, I wanted to just share with you the maintenance that I've had to do so far. I've owned it for about 6 months or so, and so far this is all I've had to do. As usual, I appreciate you watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Definitely go and check out some of these other videos, and if you like them, please consider subscribing. Hit that subscribe button down below, and when you do, a bell icon will come up. If you hit that bell icon, you'll be notified of all future videos on this channel. So again, I appreciate you watching. Take care, and I'll see you on the next video.